Shri Parasakthi Vidyalaya Cbse Class 6th Subject English.
Good morning, my dear students. Welcome back. In this class, we are going to learn Unit 3 Supplement Reader. The topic of the lesson is The Shepherd's Treasure. So, already I gave you homework you to read in your home. So, now all of you take your Supplement Reader book and take page number 7. Okay, let's go. Dear students, take page number 7. The Shepherd's Treasure. You know who is shepherd? Shepherd is who can manage the wild animals like cow and goats like. Okay, see, it is a story about the shepherd. In a village in Iran, there once lived a shepherd. He was very poor. He did not have even a small cottage of his own. He had been to school or learned to read and write. For there were very few schools in those days. So first it is about who it's shepherd. So where he was lived in Iran. So how he was very poor. He did not even have a small house. It means a small cottage of his own. So he not learned anything from the school, because there is a few school in those days. Basically he was a poor man. Okay, though poor and uneducated, the shepherd was very wise. So he was poor, but how he was a very wise personality in that area. He understood people's sorrows and troubles and helped them face their problems with courage and common sense. Many people came to him for advice. Soon he became famous for his wisdom and friendly nature. The king of that country heard about him and thought of meeting him. So how was a shepherd boy? He was a very poor and uneducated, but he was a very wise knowledge. So if the people asked any solution about the problem, he will clarify and tell them to behave courage. So how to handle the problem, everything he shared to the people. So this was reached the king of that area, because soon he became very famous in that area because of his knowledge. Disguised as a shepherd and riding on a mule, one day the king came to cave where the wise man lived. So one day the king wanted to meet the shepherd to test the knowledge of the shepherd man. Okay, so what was happened, we can see in the next page. Okay, can you understood? The first page they given the introduction about the shepherd. Okay, page number 8. As soon as the shepherd saw the traveller coming towards the cave, he rose to welcome him. He took the tired traveller inside the cave, gave him water to drink and share of his own meagre meal. The king rested for the night in the cave and was greatly impressed by the shepherd's hospitality and wise conversation. So you know who came to visit the shepherd? Yes, the king. So as soon as the shepherd saw the traveller, he just welcomed whoever it may be. But what is the special quality of shepherd? Basically he was a good human being, no? So he welcomed him and he shared his meal to that man and tell him to take the rest in the night in his cave. Okay, so second part, the shepherd was able to make out his visitor was none other than the king. The king made the wise shepherd governor of the small district. Other governors became jealous of the new governor. Next, though still tired, the king decided to depart the next morning. He said, "Many thanks for your kindness to a poor traveller. I have a long way to go. Permit me to live." Now the king was disguised. So he thought he not understood, but who can understood? The shepherd boy can understood it is a king. So now he said, "Many thanks for the kindness to the poor shepherd," and he said, "I want to go way to go. So just permit me to live." Now looking straight to the eyes of the guest, the shepherd replied, "Thank you, your majesty, for paying me the compliment of the visit." Now only the king understood the shepherd man who knows about himself. The king was astonished as well pleased. He is indeed very wise. He thought to himself, "I need people like him to work for me." And the king appointed the humble shepherd the governor of the small district. Now the king understood the real knowledge of the shepherd, because he was disguised, but the shepherd boy understood who he was. So at last, when the king want to leave from the home, he said, yes, thank you for majesty. Now who can understood his knowledge. So he said, you are a very good knowledgeable, you are very wise. So he appointed the humble shepherd to the governor of the small district. So it was a good credit to the shepherd man because of the honesty and wise. Although he rose a power to dignity, the shepherd remained the humble as ever. People loved and honored him for the wisdom, sympathy, and goodness. He was kind and just to one and all. His fame as a fair and wise governor soon spread throughout the country. So now the king appointed him as a governor. So every people loved it because of his character and dignity and power, everything he has, and he has a wisdom, sympathy, and goodness. So everyone of the uh, uh, village, they understood about the governor. Okay, they are appreciate about his honesty. Now the governors of the other provisions grew terribly jealous of him and began to talk to the king against him. But what will happen? Usually some people are jealousy. So now the neighborhood governors, they became jealous about him. They said he is a very dishonest. He always keeps himself for the part of money that he collects as a tax from the people. Why did he always carry with him? They added an iron chest. Perhaps he carried in it the treasure he had secretly collected. So usually the people, the jealousy, they said unwanted thing. The same thing happened in this story also. The jealousy governors of the neighborhood, they create one story. So what is the story? The shepherd man always carry a iron shut in his hand. So they said it must have the collection of tax from the people. But what is a real thing and what is in the iron chest, nobody knows. So what will be that, we can see in the next page. Page number 9. They said mockingly he was an ordinary shepherd and could behave no better. The new governor was called to the palace. He was ordered to explain to why he has always carried an iron chest. The chest contained no gold or silver. So see the third part. At first the king did not pay attention to these reports, but how long could he ignore these governors and their endless stories about the shepherd? One thing was certain, the king discovered the new governor did carry an iron chest with him all the time. See, there are so many jealous governors of neighbor. They given so many stories about the new governor to the king. First he was not pay attention to that, but after that he had a doubt, because what he discovered, they told he carry always the iron chest. The same thing he followed every day. So one day the new governor was summoned to the palace. He came riding on his camel, and to everyone's delight, the famous iron chest was there fastened securely behind him on the camel's back. So now the king got angry and thundered, "Why do you always carry the iron chest with you? What did it contain?" So now the king had a doubt, so he called to him to the palace, but even the palace also he carried the iron chest with him. So now the king had a doubt and asked him, "Why you are carrying, what it contained?" The governor smiled and asked the servant to bring chest. How eagerly the people standing around and waited for the shepherds to be found out, but how great was astonished and even of king himself when the chest was opened. No gold or silver or jewels, but an old blanket was all that came out. So everyone was amazed and everyone was surprised to see what is in the iron chest. But what is really in the iron chest? There is no gold or silver, whatever the stories the neighborhood jealous governor said, nothing it has only a old blanket. So now everyone was shocked. So what happened at the end, we can see in the next page. Page number 10. Proudly the shepherd said, "This is my dear master, is my only treasure. I always carry it with me." So what was the treasure? Everyone's question. Now the treasure was only an old blanket. So now that new governor, that poor shepherd man, he told about the story. "But why do you carry such an ordinary blanket with you? Surely you are the governor of the district, the king asked. To which shepherd replied the quiet dignity, This blanket is my oldest friend. It was still protect me if it is any time. Your Majesty should wish to take away my new clocks. So now the king asked a question, you are a governor of the district, why you are carry that old blanket? But he said it is only his friend, it means it is a oldest friend, it always carry him. So this is his treasure, replied to the king by the shepherd boy. How pleased the king and he impressed the jealous governors became here the wise man's reply. Now they know that the shepherd was indeed the humblest and the wisest man in the land. The king made him the governor of the much bigger district that very day. So now everyone's questions about the iron chest was cleared. Yes, what was in the iron chest? It is only the old blanket. There is nothing gold or silver or money. So now everyone was silent. Now the king again he appreciated him for his honest and the dignity, and he given the governor post to the a big city of that day. He has nearest to the palace. So this is the end of the story. I hope all you are understood the story. That shepherd's treasure is a very interesting story. Yes, because he was a poor boy, he has nothing to him, but because of the wise and honesty he became rich, and of course he became the governor of the district. So if you are become the honest or the dignity and the all the good characters if you have, definitely you must get the reward at the end. The Thoros reward also, because of the honest only he got the reward from the king. The same thing the poor old shepherd boy also, he has the reward at the end. So this is the end of the story. I hope all you are understood. Okay, so now I given the note for this story. All of you take your English note and write the question answer in your English note and study. Okay, thank you. We can see in the next class.